Hello, 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 hello. Are you ready for some podcasting? Welcome to In the Closet with. It's once again Pride Month, and this year I wanted to celebrate with my fellow creatives. Throughout June, the stream will be guested by a variety of people where we talk about the queer experience. Today, I am joined by Coey, he, him, also known as Coey Kuhn on Twitter. Hello.
Hello.
You ready to go?
Ah! Sure.
As ready as can be?
Yeah.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Coey. I am an illustrator and product designer. I like monsters, occult shit, cursed and haunted things. Generally a trinket hoarder. I draw and design a product that's weird, corny, and surreal. Sell my work at conventions and online. Yeah,
Wonderful.
I make weird stuff. Yeah.
Where did your fascination with like I guess you could like umbrella term it the occult?
Uh-huh.
Where did that start?
Oh God. Just I don't know. As a kid, my mom never really put like limitations on what I could be into. So I just like rented a ton of movies as a kid, but like that ultimately influenced the like, oh, I am just getting horror movies. Ooh, look at all this spooky shit. Ooh, I turned out okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
It also, yeah, it ties in with the like my relation to the LGBT plus community. Just like my mom never put limitations on my brother and I, like what we looked into or how we expressed ourselves.
Uh-huh.
So been nice.
That's very interesting because I am somewhat like of a horror nut myself.
Yeah.
I am chicken shit though, so it's very hard for me to actually watch horror or like play horror games or whatever. That is difficult for
Mhm.
me. But I am addicted to horror podcasts where the people running them will talk about the movie, so I get the entire experience as if like when you
Yeah.
had a friend who either played something or read something and then retold the entire thing to you.
Hmm.
That's kind of
You
what
like
I
secondhand horror.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah exactly. um and I've noticed like a running thread of people who are really into horror grew up with it, like you just said, and
Hmm.
they're all really nice people.
Yeah. I like to think I'm well rounded. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I just like weird, spooky, haunted shit. It's my bread and butter.
But it is so interesting to me, like where does that connection lie, that we grew up consuming what people fear children consuming because will turn out not all right. And then
Hmm.
from I'm of course generalizing, but my experience is that people really into horror are just really pleasant people and often very sympathetic.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, but yeah, I feel very privileged in that like my upbringing was my mom was just like, yeah, whatever you want to watch, whatever you want to do, okay.
Oh, my parents were very very the opposite. They were like the typical parents of the threats with getting square eyes if you watch too much television and stuff like that.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, 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 for sure. My introduction to horror was Scream, the first Scream movie.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I think either 9 or 10, so way too young to watch it. And I had been tricked into a slightly older kid because she was like, "Oh no, it's not scary," and I was like, "But I think it's a horror movie." And she was like, "Okay, well, I'll let you know when the scary bits come out." And she never did. She never told me when the scary shit came out, so I was traumatized.
Oh no.
What was your? Do you remember your first horror movie?
Oh God, I don't. I just like I watched Exorcism and Alien and The Thing, all that shit as I found it in like our ye old blockbuster.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I I honestly don't. I mainlined so much of that, but it it all pops up here and there, like with like designing monsters and shit. Like I do, like it'll just be like, oh yeah, that's like reminiscent of blah blah blah. Like
Mm-hmm.
I forgot I watched that. Blah blah blah.
Were you never scared as a kid consuming horror?
No, not really.
Wow.
I TMI grew up in an abusive household, so like that was the horror TM. Like
Oh
so, like
yeah.
all the like ghosts or monsters. I was like, oh, that's dope. I like that.
So
Like no,
it became kind of like escapism for you then, or?
yeah, 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 yeah. Oh yeah,
Wow,
but yeah,
interesting.
never. Yeah, ooh, um, yeah, no, and like still nothing like movies or whatever really scares me. It's all situational stuff. Like talking on this scares me, not the fear of like, ooh, this house is haunted. I'm just gonna go in this haunted house, and what if I trip? Oh no, what if a ghost touches my butt? Like that's not scary at all.
You're like, I actually would like that ghost touching my booty.
Hey, ghost, touch my butt. Yeah, no, I
So,
I I want validation of the other so bad that a ghost will never talk to me.
well, I'm crossing my fingers and toes that it happens. It is fascinating though that you find, uh, uh, like from what I'm gathering from this conversation, like a kind of peace and serenity in horror, and then real life is more scary. But I mean, that's not too wild though, because real life is
Yeah,
scary.
real life is real.
Yeah, that's also a very good point. If you are able to differentiate between what's on the screen in terms of like fiction and real
Mhm.
life, then yeah, for sure real life is 10 times scarier. All right. Let me jump into the first question. When did you know you were
Yeah.
perfectly queer?
Oh, um, well, my relation to the LGBT community is I'm a trans man. I've been through hormones and surgery for like 10 years
Mm-hmm.
plus, something like that. Beyond that, I guess pansexual or demisexual. I don't really put labels on myself. I
Mm-hmm.
feel too changeable and aloof to really pin anything down beyond that. But yeah, I generally don't stress about labels, mostly because I feel like there's new shit every day,
Yeah.
or I don't know. I'm whatever. I'm just whatever makes me comfortable, and that's been my general vibe with both me and my art. I just do whatever. I'm very aloof.
Oh.
Uh, but yeah, I don't think I realized I was queer for a while. Like as a kid growing up, like I said, my mom never really put limitations on my brother and I, like with how we expressed ourselves. So
Mm-hmm.
like I dated men, I dated women without really much thought about it. I only really realized that I was like, I guess at the time when I was a woman, quote unquote, a lesbian or gay.
Mm-hmm.
When one of my college friends, like we were walking back from class or something, and we were chatting about our current relationships, and I said, you know, at the time I was dating my now current wife, but I was, and she was just like, oh, I always wondered if you were gay, and at the time I was just like, wait, I guess I am gay. It was like kind of blindsided. Like I don't know, it's the like, oh wait, I forget other people put labels on this stuff, and like just kind of blindsided me that I don't know. I guess naive, I guess, is a good term for it, but I just never really questioned. Like I just always go with the flow, and like, oh shit, yeah, I guess I am kind of gay, and then the
Mm.
thought was gone. Like, all right, whatever.
Oh, that's really sweet though. I really like that. If you're okay with me asking this, and
Yeah.
just tell me if you're not, but you like, I remember you from way back in the DeviantArt days, for
Oh
us
God, the
us
dark
us
time.
us crusty old people who
Yeah,
grew up on
yeah, yeah.
DeviantArt. That's where I first discovered you way back when, and I've followed you ever since, and your journey has been somewhat public, and
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, like, how do you feel that's like, what's that been like, being a somewhat public figure and then going through all of that self-discovery?
Oh, I mean, hmm, hard to say because like I've always been terrible at like social media and like like I don't know what else you would call DeviantArt except like social media, like putting yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
But like I always just did it for me and everyone else was just along for the ride. And that's kind of been my general feeling for a lot of like not only my art but transition, just the like, well, I'm gonna put this out there and people either take it or they won't. And that's I never really gave much thought because I always knew that there are other people like me out there, even
Mm-hmm.
if like I don't interact with them. I know there's other people out there like me, and I know there's other people out there in a similar or adjacent enough situation that are just lurkers. Like they may not speak up about it, but it's good to know that that exists out there. So I've like yeah, I've always just been very I guess quote unquote authentic online, but it's more out of a I just don't care. uh
But
I
I
yeah.
do get the sense that your followers resonate with that though, because you, at least to me, you come across as just the way you're presenting yourself now, like calm in your identity, like very, like uh, it seems like you've arrived at least for now, because life is a journey and all that stuff, like everything can change at
Yeah,
some
yeah.
point, but as of right now you seem very uh like collected about where you are, and y- not even you as a person alone, but your art as
Mhm.
well really gives that impression online, at least to me. I can only speak for myself, and
Yeah.
I don't think it's like too much of a reach to say that that's a big thing that people gravitate towards you, because your work carries a confidence of sort.
Oh, well, that's great because I struggle with that. But I mean, that's good to know. Um, yeah, like, I don't know. I know a lot of trans people's experiences are different, but
Mm-hmm.
mine, like some people never want to say like, oh yeah, I may have been born in the body of a woman, blah blah blah. But like as far as my experience goes, like that was part of my life, and I'm not going to discount that. I had experiences as a woman that I would have never had as if I was, born the way I wish I was. Like it's it is just what it is, and like I'm not going to discount those experiences, and I bring them with me because they made me part of who I am today. Like
Yeah.
I feel like I don't have a choice but to just exist as I am, as the sum of parts that made me the way I am. So yeah, I guess that comes out in every bit of my like social media presence of just like, well, everyone's along for the journey, and this is this today's new chapter, and I'm glad it not only resonates with people, but you know, gives them a touchstone that maybe helps them out in the future.
Yeah, I am. Out of the people I invited here, you are for sure the person I've followed the longest. Not to sound like that good old creepo. Um,
Ah, good old grandma and grandpa over here.
Grandma stalker over here. And I don't think I'm exaggerating when I'm saying that you, not to get all like mushy mushy at like 10 minutes in, but you are by far one of my largest inspirations, because it is very, I think it's quite easy whenever people ask like, what are your favorite artists, like who inspire you, we tend to, or again, I can only speak for myself, but I get the sense that a lot of us tend to refer to a lot of like dead artists, because we tend to go like maybe 100 plus years back in time to the good old people that
Yeah, yeah,
shaped
yeah.
whatever style that has influenced us. And
Hmm.
whenever people ask me that, I also find myself going like, doing the same thing, like going like 100 plus years back and be like, oh yeah, this guy and this guy and this guy. But whenever I think of current people, like existing people in the online space together with me, you are like always one of the first people on the list. And
Oh, stop it! I'm gonna scream. Ah!
and um like, I don't even really know where I'm going with this, because I just really wanted to say this to you. like
Yeah, yeah.
having like a, not face to face because we have a screen in between us, but like a heart to heart. Just, I know that being an artist online can be an incredibly lonely existence. Is very,
Mhm.
it's spent in a lot of solitude. And
Yeah.
especially in today's landscape with social media, where everything moving so fast, and a lot of
Oh,
people not
Arfo.
taking the time to slow down and appreciate one another, because
Mhm.
everything is consumed at such a rapid pace. To me, it's been so nice to actually have a lot of art folks on here, because I really try to broaden the horizon and not only invite drawing artists, because you know, there are other queer people out there, even though it seems like most of them are artists. But of course, me being an artist myself, it's easiest to reach out to the people in the same profession first and foremost.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's been so lovely to just take like an hour and a half, slow down, have a chat, and like selfishly for me to tell you guys just how much I admire your work, to get that space to do that. And I guess that's what I'm doing right now. Like, you can't see me, but like imagine me on my knees, like hands clasped together, like thank you.
And meanwhile, there's me staring out a window because I don't even look at my social media half the time. Yeah, but no, I really appreciate it, and I mean, I appreciate everyone who like brings up the DeviantArt days because it's like, thanks for sticking with me and remembering I exist. Because boy, when I look back at that art, I'm like, why did you even like it? What was wrong with like me? Like, there's so many other better people out there, and yet you like followed or watched or retweeted like something from me. Like that's super. I appreciate every little thing that everyone does.
But
It's very humbling.
the thing is that you say that there's better people out there, but to me, like, it goes what I was saying, you're very, very good. And you always have been. You always had that it thing in my eyes. And I know that's very
Oh,
subjective, but to me, you definitely have. And it's also like fun to me to hear you go like, oh my God, like looking back at my old art. Because when I think of your old art, it was already so distinctly you. It
oh,
was,
thanks. Yeah, most artists are like that though. They're like, I don't even want to look at something that I did like a year ago. I stress about it, but
oh yeah, for sure. But a lot of artists change a lot. Like looking back at my own art,
Mhm.
I am not remotely similar to what I was back on DeviantArt. Like
Oh
woofaroo.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But even though we of course always improve because we keep drawing, I would have been
yeah.
able to pick out your art at once, even back from DeviantArt. Even if I hadn't followed you back then, I would be like, that really looks like something Coey would have done.
Ah, like that's I appreciate it. I'm also just like that's so like I'm like, but what was it? Like I don't understand. How did I? Ah, thank you.
Well, I'm not an art analyst, and I'm also not a genius. But to me, it feels connected to what you're telling me right now about that, like you're taking your space and you're taking it, and if people don't like it, they can fuck off, kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yep, yep,
and
yep,
and
yep.
your art says the same, and I love that. I love, like, even if it wasn't like not safe for work, because it's not even that, it's just that your art is so unapologetic in the best possible way.
Well, thank you. I That is a huge compliment. Like, I don't know. That's what I just kind of strive for. The like, I'm gonna do weird shit, and people will either like it or they won't. And I know there's more freaks like me out there, and they'll appreciate it whenever they come across it. So like, I don't know. Like, it's something that I always try to put in my work of like, well, I know there's always someone weirder than me, so this is fine. Like, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It absolutely does. And I would say I would say you have a very loyal follower base. Is that wrong with me?
Uh, no, like, um, it's always shocking to me, but like I appreciate it. Yeah, like I have people at cons that will come up and like, oh, I bought something from you last year, or I bought something from you like 4 years ago at this con, and I'm like, thank you for coming back.
Mm.
It's always still so shocking to me, but I appreciate it. Like I'm like, uh, I don't know, just in our current social media landscape, like I struggle so much with the like seeing stuff on my Twitter feed,
Mm.
like example, like refresh constantly. So it feels like people are making art all the time and I'm not. But like just taking a moment to stop and breathe and realize, oh, those are like hundreds of different users all posting. This is not just one entity of art. Like it's hard to get myself to slow down and realize that just because I'm not being productive, it's okay, you know?
Yeah, for sure. That is the thing I am battling with a lot too. That it's okay to just
Hmm.
exist.
Yeah.
Um.
Just like put stuff out at your own pace. Like,
Mm,
because that's like the detachment I have in my brain of just like seeing a constant stream of new art coming off of my like Twitter feed and being like, everyone's so productive. And just have to remind yourself, like, no, those are like 50 people and they all did something. This isn't just one person that put out 50 new things. Like, it's okay.
yeah.
It's
That's
okay, bad brain, slow down.
but that's so true though. I haven't really considered it from that angle because I also do follow some people who just are incredibly productive. Like that one
Yeah,
person
just
will
are
just like
incredibly prolific. Yeah.
poop out artwork what feels like every single day, and I'm like, how?
How did you do that? Where'd you find the time?
Like,
Tell
don't
me.
you
I
sleep?
want to know. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That is a very that is a healthy reminder though that especially when you follow a lot of people, it is easy to get overwhelmed um by everything you
Just
see.
flow. Yeah. And then like in kind, the like overwhelmed by, oh well, no one's gonna see my stuff. And I think just in a lot of ways coming to terms with that of just like no one may see this, but as long as I'm happy with it, that's kind of the only takeaway I can do. Like that's the only thing I have control over. Like, well, at least I did this and I like this thing about it. Ultimately, someone may see it, but I can't put the pressure on myself to, stress about posting at the right time. At least
Mm.
myself, I can't. I don't know. I feel so old even at 34 that I'm like, I can't be bothered. Like I'm just gonna put it out there, and if someone sees it and likes it, cool. If not, well, I did that for me. Like,
Oh,
and it's a lot better headspace to be in. Granted, I'm not always in that headspace. This is a good day, but like, it's a give and take. You
yeah,
can't be positive every day. It
yeah,
is what it is. But
absolutely. What you're
that's what I
saying is
strive for.
so relatable though, because I have the same where some days I'm like, oh my god, that piece performed like shit, better delete it and better be sad for an entire day because my entire
Yeah,
existence is useless. And another day, a piece will perform just as quote unquote poorly. I'm like, doesn't matter. I have people in my life that I love, it's sunny, the flower smells really nice, and I'm able to like separate my worth from social media and also have
yeah,
like a little bit of touching grass moment where like Twitter isn't everything, and then the next day I'm
yeah.
back on like, but Twitter is everything.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And like I think that's the big difference from like DeviantArt days. Like DeviantArt, I never really paid attention
Mm,
to followers or comments. I just posted whatever, whenever. But like now, it just feels like I don't know. The social media landscape is so much harder for new artists and old artists, just everyone in general. Like it's such a tightrope balancing game of being like, oh wait, no, I need this in my life to succeed versus like this is a nice thing. Like it's just
mm.
so hard to find that. Where's the line of like, keeping my brain healthy?
Yeah, it is interesting that you mentioned this though, because my personal experience is a little different because I can remember that my kind of um let's say negative influence by social media started already on DeviantArt because already there I
Uh-huh.
started fussing over numbers and
Oh
obsessing
yeah.
over like being seen because you're saying that it's so difficult for people to get discovered today, but I'd argue it's easier than ever because of just how accessible everything is. But back in DeviantArt days,
Yeah.
there was like the top 10 and stuff like that, and there were the people who got daily deviations like 50 times a year, or it felt like that.
Yes.
And you had
Yeah.
like like if I started listing names like Artgerm, Loish, stuff like that, you'd be like, yeah, I
Uh-huh.
remember they were always on the front page. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying this
Yep,
with
yep, yep.
like any venom. I'm just saying like that's how it
Oh yeah,
was.
yeah, no, it was what it was. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it was very, and to be fair, like my art stunk back in the day, so I was just like a delusional dumbass teenager who thought I was Da Vinci. Like I had a humbling process, thank the Lord, in my 20s, where I was like, oh yeah, I suck and I need to get better at this, and then we worked through that since. But
Yeah.
even for like mediocre artists, DeviantArt wasn't a friendly platform in that regard. And I think again, like thanks to your incredibly recognizable voice within art, you probably did okay because your art was good already back then.
Scream! Thank you. Sweats about it.
Should I have given you like a heads up that I was gonna blow your ass full of hot air?
I'm gonna gush at you. Ah! No, you're fine.
So while I do think there's a lot of other negative stuff with social media today, there's like so much that is difficult. I will say that getting recognized is one of the quote unquote easier ones, in my opinion. And that's coming from someone who isn't recognized. Like I'm a nobody. So I'm not saying this as someone with like 100K followers, like, oh yeah, I'm Captain Big Shot and Mr. Twitter is in my pocket. Not at all. Because I am nobody. And that's like when I mentioned to you before we went online that I was so surprised that people agreed to join me on this, because sadly, a lot of people are legitimized by their numbers, by their performances on Twitter, because it is kind of a vouch that you're doing something right and that you have that something, even though that's not necessarily always the case.
Yeah. I think seeing other, like, when you look at people you admire and look at their follower count, I think that helps put stuff in context. Like, there are people that I just adore their work, and they have like 8,000 followers, which is, a lot to some people and nothing to others. It's just putting stuff in context a lot of the time helps. Like,
absolutely. And
there's people that I think deserve way more attention, but they just don't have it, and it's just
Yeah. I have several people like that I keep yelling about on, and sometimes I wish that I had a big platform, not necessarily only for myself, even though it would be nice if it like fattened my wallet, but that's also not necessarily like a connection, which is also like a disillusion that a lot of people have about social med. But I just want it so I can yell about the people that I adore and be like, look at them, look at my art children, they're so good.
Yeah. Look at my shitty character in this game I'm playing. Look at them, everyone. I want to subject you to my dumb, shitty character.
Oh my god, if that's not my life. Like, some days I'll be like, man, why isn't my stuff like connecting more? And I'm like, oh yeah, it's because of some obscure fucking OC that nobody knows. So they have no context for liking this character, and I am shit at sharing OC lore. So I'm just sitting here like, look at them, aren't they beautiful? And people are like, it's not Bloodborne, or it's not, I don't know, GTA or whatever. It's not Pokemon. I don't recognize this.
Good, and you never will, because this is my brain baby, and I love that.
Oh, okay. I've spent a good amount making you aware that I am very fascinated with you and your work, obviously. But what was your first crush / fascination that challenged the expectations of society?
Oh, hard. Not really sure. I'm a notorious monster fucker. So like, I think it would be a lot easier for me to pinpoint that versus the broad view of what or what not I find appealing, or like the archetypes as a kid, I guess, that I enjoyed. But like, I don't know. I like weak men and like strong feral women. If I had to pinpoint a fixation, I guess I like Dimitri from Anastasia. Like, I would step on him in a heartbeat. Or like Sigourney Weaver from Alien. I love a manic feral woman with a cat. Like, great job, 10 of 10. Like Sailor Moon was impactful in ways. Ranma 1/2. I mean, for being trans, I was like, oh wow, look it, they can be both. Wow, it's so cool. I mean, Road to El Dorado. Like, oh
yes,
three-way. I love it. My fucking heart, help me. Yeah, a three-way ship, don't mind if I do. The Mummy was very difficult for a young bisexual me. Like,
you are not the first to mention The Mummy, by the way.
Yeah, good, because it's like fantastic. But I don't know. Like, anything and everything I'm sure I could find something about, because again, like, I don't really have a preference gender wise. It's just more of like, do I get along with you as a person? Do we vibe? Then cool, dope. I probably have a crush on you. Like,
That's super fair. I mean, being into monsters, I would say also challenge the expectations of society, because if you just go out to Bob Bobson and say, I'm a monster fucker, Bob Bobson is gonna have questions.
ah, yeah, like I guess like young me, the like two intersected like was me watching Alien and then me also watching like Madonna music videos, and I was like, surely this won't impact me in the future. Oops, look at me now.
I get the sense like from some of your work that you are a little nostalgic about like retro stuff like VHS, maybe like 80s, 90s kind of stuff. Am I correct?
Yeah, like definitely the like older horror retro stuff is a vibe that I go with a lot. Like the um just when like stuff couldn't be as easily explained away, like a little more room, wiggle room for, I don't know, just bullshit. Like, not everything has to be explained. I'll just say this is old tech and that's why. Like that,
Yeah.
like things can be unclear and that's fine. The like ambiguity of like a lot of that is very appealing to me.
Oh, I
Yeah.
super agree. Have you? This makes me want to ask. Have you ever watched Twin Peaks?
Yes. Yeah.
That is like, to me, that is like. I am specifically referring to the old show from the 90s, not The Return. The Return
Yes.
is
Yeah.
Lynch up to 11, which is too much Lynch for me. Like I always say that I super respect the man, and I
hmm
adore that he just gives two fat middle fingers to conventional storytelling.
Yes, that is
I'm
hugely appealing, and I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want, and people
yeah,
will enjoy it or they won't. Yeah.
I madly respect him for that and admire him, but it also makes it difficult to follow along on some of his rides, because they're for one person, that person is Lynch.
Yes.
But in the 90s, when
I
he was
respect
reeled
that.
when he was reeled back in a little bit by, I suspect, Mark
Yeah.
Frost, um that like distilled Lynch is something I wish more people dare to go for that, because I always say that like a lot of people try to be Lynch, but only Lynch can be Lynch because he doesn't try to be
Yeah.
Lynch. But I wish a lot of people would aspire to not always go for the stereotypical ABC storytelling format and spoon feeding and all of that stuff.
Oh yeah. Like again, make stuff that impresses you first and foremost. Don't make art for other people. As I mean, unless you're working for someone else, obviously. But like when you're trying to do what you are passionate about, try to please yourself first,
Mm.
because if not, you're just going to keep chasing, and that seems exhausting to me. Like,
Oh yeah.
especially doing conventions. Like, uh, I don't know. I see some people who are always trying to draw and make product for the hot new shit that's out there. Like, ooh, this anime's hot. Ooh, hurry, everyone, we have to make charms for it. And like, if you like it, that's cool. But the amount of people that just do it because it's hot to try to make a dollar, I find that grind to be exhausting, and
Oh, for
I
sure.
I could not.
Yeah, absolutely. That is definitely something I came I arrived at like a peaceful solution like several years ago, that me and fan art, we are just not meant to be. And very,
Yeah.
very, very rarely I will get that like, man, I want to do fan art. But when I do fan art today, it is
hmm
100% from the heart. It's one of my like
Yeah.
peaceful sessions of actually doing something 100% for me, because what I do fan art of is dumb shit like Venom and Logan being gay together, like who,
Yeah.
like for the 1%, so it's not for an audience, it's for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Like,
always, I really feel like I can't stress enough that I never, ever, ever shit on people who make a career out of being fan artists, because I respect
mm,
the hustle. Uh, but for me personally, I am one of those like cliche artists that my heart has to be in it or I can't do it.
oh, like I think it shows. Like if you care about something versus you're like, oh, I just want to like I want to do this to like get some views or whatever. Like I think it shows in the work if you're passionate about something or
Mm.
not. So
Yeah, I really do think it makes you stand apart in a way because again, I it's always such a tricky topic to navigate because I truly am not like trying to set out to make anyone feel bad if they are a fan artist first and foremost.
mhm.
And I do think there
Yeah,
are
like if it's what
also
you want to do, that's
yeah,
totally cool and
yeah,
fine. But like
absolutely. Uh,
it's more of the like anxiety surrounding the chase, like that. I'm like, oh no, sweet baby artist, don't do it. No, oh no.
yeah, because at the end of the day, at least to me, and this is again subjective preferences, but to me, there is something very charming about like seeing artists who just like, do their own thing and they don't
Yeah,
care.
yeah. Sorry to get distracted again from questions. I'm just like blah blah blah.
No, this is perfect. This is the format. If we stuck to the questions, we would be done in 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's true.
So this is just
Fair.
me expanding. I love these conversations. That's why I
Me
said that
ranting about the art community as a whole. Yeah.
I told you before we went on that we've been on a plethora of topics this month, and I'm not stopping anyone. I wanna hear what you have to say, and then try my best to contribute to it or nod my head along.
Yeah, or wrangle my ADH brain into staying on topic. Yeah, thank you.
But I can shoot the next question at you if you're ready.
Yeah, sure.
What's the most positive impact being queer has had on you?
Oh, I mean, besides just giving me an amazing like breadth of friends and perspectives, like a weird takeaway, but I think it's helped me figure out who I do and don't need in my life a lot easier than some other people might
Mm-hmm.
be able to. Just the like, oh, well, you clearly don't care about this thing that I'm like part of. So why have you around? You're not contributing to my life in any way. So like, it's a weird takeaway, but I think it's helped me build a better support network than a lot of my other friends that may not be part of the community have. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot more I mean in a lot of ways like just black and white of just like, oh well you support this thing so therefore you don't support me. Like
Mm-hmm.
uh you don't clearly care about this core part of my personality. So like easy for me to cut you out of my life because you aren't contributing in any way. Like you're not helping me be a better person. So you have nothing to give and I have nothing to give to you. Like
Mm-hmm.
I know that might be a negative way to think about it, but I think it's
No.
positive in the like I have a better support network than a lot of my family. I have amazing friends, I have an amazing wife, my mom is great, my brother's great. Like it's helped me determine who I don't know, who deserves my attention and who deserves to like for me to give back to them as well. Like, you know,
Mm-hmm. I personally don't think there's anything negative about that though. I think that's to me that sounds like a very healthy thing because it sounds self-preserving. Like there's there's nothing wrong about leaving people behind who are not good for you. Regardless of who they are, like how they're related to you. And you arriving to that point through your queerness, I just see
mhm,
that as a way of just weeding out who's not going to be along for the ride, and that's okay. I personally don't see anything negative in it. I just see that as like you applying a life experience to finding out who really matters and who's there for you.
pretty much, yeah. Like it's just helped me cut out a lot of bullshit in my life.
Yeah.
But also it's like, oh, my poor mom. Like I love her to death, but like the wild ride I have put her on. Like um so I grew up in the South a lot and I had a couple boyfriends, but then like my first, I guess, quote unquote serious boyfriend was a black guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the South, me being at the time a white woman was like, oh my lord, like, oh no. And at the time, dating him, like a year and a half into our relationship, my mom was just like, ah, I just really wish that, I wish you wouldn't date a black man. I really wish, like, I would have rather you dated a woman. Joke on her that
Ooby dooby.
eventually we broke up and it was fine. Like we were still friends, but like um I ended up dating a woman next. And it was just like, oh mom, you don't know what you're getting into. Like she's grown and understood over the years. She's gotten so much better and she loves my wife now and like, but the roller coaster of, look, you're going to accept this weird life that I have or you're not going to be part of it. And having that attitude in a lot of ways has helped her grow and me grow and understand her perspective. But
Mm-hmm.
just I just keep throwing curveballs at her because it was that, and then I dated a woman, being a woman, so I was lesbian, and then I was like, oh hey, I can finally transition now, and I did that, and like she's just been along for the ride and been nothing but supportive, and I couldn't imagine putting someone through that, like go through that, like, but she's grown, and I'm very proud.
Oh, your sorry for interrupting you, but your Discord is breaking up tremendously for a moment there.
Oh no, okay,
It
well,
seems to be stable again, but it was just you sounded like the third member of Daft Punk for a little while.
oh nice, if only. But yeah. What was I saying before?
I think it stopped at
I
like you couldn't imagine putting your mother through that.
yeah. Just the wild ride of like you're gonna accept this or not, and I love you, and I hope you come along for the ride. Like, uh, it's I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. Besides, like, she's been a trooper because I put her through one. But like, again, like clearly you want to be part of my life. Clearly you're a person who can learn and understand and grow from this, and I hope other people can too. Or else, like, I don't know, I don't need you. I'm incredibly self-sufficient. Like, I know that's coming from a very privileged spot, but like of
But
like, oh, I'm able to be self-sufficient, but
mm-hmm.
like I don't know,
But
like I don't need to rely on others.
I think it's interesting though that you're phrasing it from an angle of putting your mother through it because from what you tell me and I'd like nothing but respect for your mother of course, but she sounded like she used to be more narrow-minded.
Oh yeah, yeah, and then like that, like yes, absolutely.
And
But I like it as a, oh, she was able to change and grow with me,
yeah,
and like I don't know.
absolutely. It's just so interesting to me that you're phrasing it like that because I'm seeing it as you doing her a service by uh challenging her on being narrow-minded and having like a very set view on life, gender,
Oh
people,
yeah,
etc. And her growing through you. I wouldn't like this is of course like you can just disregard whatever I'm about to say, but to me it's not you putting her through something, in my opinion. It is you expanding her horizon and also being patient enough for her to do that because
oh yeah,
that touches upon something that I am very passionate about in today's society, especially like on social media, where you know people are very vocal, where we are so not about giving people a second chance. It's like I know the word cancel culture is like completely fucking void of all meaning by now because it's
yeah.
been abused so heavily, but at its core I detest cancel culture because I think it's abused, and I think very often we're applying it to people who they shouldn't be canceled, they should learn, and we
Hmm.
can't give people that space if we're just vile to them, if we're equally vile in a different manner in return. It's so
Oh yeah, I'm gonna,
counterproductive to me.
yeah, yeah, I'm gonna give people a chance. Like I'm not gonna discount someone outright, but like also if you're not gonna hear me out, like I'm willing to hear you out, then like what's the fucking point? Like I don't need you in my life if it's gonna be like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
my mom thankfully was willing to listen and learn, and she's an incredible ally now. But like I know other people aren't that fortunate. But
Mm-hmm.
like yeah, the wild ride that I put her through. Yeah, and like it also, like you said, like it takes time. Like when I transitioned, she still called me she for a while, not out of a malicious way, but out of a just like
Old
it takes
habits.
time to relearn those things. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's old habits, and like I can't blame her for that. Everything takes time. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's just part of the process, and I equally can't be frustrated her like when she slipped up like that for a while. Like it's just part of growing together. Like
Yeah,
yeah,
I,
I'm glad she's still with me in like my support network. But
mm-hmm.
like there's plenty of other people who just like I said, like the most positive impact are like, okay, then you're just not with me and that's fine. Like you're
Mm.
not with me for this journey. Like,
I have to say, I remember years ago you posted a photo that just had me screaming in happiness because it was from a convention where your mother had come with you, and the photo is of
yes.
her looking through one of the Monsters and More books
The
with like
monster
a
porn books?
and just like a
Oh honey.
like expression. I was like, couldn't be my mother, but kind of also could, but still couldn't, because I think if I drew the kind of explicit like monster porn
Yeah.
that you do, I think my mother would have questions. And the fact that she was just like browsing through with like slightly raised eyebrows was so beautiful.
Oh, she just like anymore. She's just like, wow, there are other people like there's like other people like you, but just the like people appreciate this and that's nice. Like you're helping others in a weird way that I can't understand, but I'm glad you're making a positive impact on people in your own weird way. Like that's kind of her. Oh, bless her heart. Like yeah. She's always just like, "What's your new project?" I'm like, "Well, it's this thing." She's like, "Okay."
At least she asked, and that's really sweet.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's so amazing. So we kind of already touched upon, like you even answered in the forum where I asked what has been the most important queer representation in media to you, and you kind of already brought up under the crush slash fascination
Yeah.
theme, like what your representations were. Do you have anything you want to add to that, or?
Oh, I mean, oh, let's see. Oh, okay, a bit of a like weird pull, but like for my monster fucker stuff, like back in the day of like doujinshi scanlations or whatever you would call them, like
Mm-hmm.
people would scan in like old comics and shit, bondage fairies, which hugely impactful on me. It's just a bunch of little fairies being fucked by bug monsters, but like,
I've never heard of
yeah,
this.
weird cool, but like just the like, oh, there's weird shit out there. And again, harkening back to the like, well, there's weirder people than me, so
Mm-hmm.
whatever I'm doing is totally fine. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
just
That's
the like,
amazing.
yeah, like I don't know. Then like all weird horror movies. I don't know. Just like I can pull inspiration from anything and everything. Like I'll find something to like. I don't know. It's hard because there's so much that like especially with my ADHD stuff, like my brain will like ping off anything any given time. Like
Mm-hmm.
and like so much is quote unquote queer to me. Like queer is like anything outside of the normal. Like that like especially with example non-binary stuff today, like anything could be considered like queer and like within the scope of LGBT. Like so like a lot of my like monster fucker stuff I think is quote unquote queer because not only is it like other, but like in all of my books and stuff, there's people ask like, oh, well, is it like what kind of pairings? I'm like, it's literally anything under the sun, like men, women, male, male, woman, woman, non-binary, trans, like I don't know. There's so much weird shit that I can do and draw inspo from. It's again hard to label. I'm terrible at labeling. Like
No, you
I
don't.
don't know.
My goal is absolutely not to label in a way. It's more like just
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
picking your brain because it's so fascinating. But as you say, it's also sometimes it's very visible, like where your roots lie. Like I can
Mm-hmm.
see when you mention stuff like Alien, the thing. I'm like, I can see that, but in a
Yeah.
good way because you mentioned that you pick like from a little bit from everything and you get like easily inspired by what inspires you,
Mm-hmm.
and that is something I super, not to go back to me tooting air up your booty again, but that is something that I super admire about your work, because you, again, it harkens back to you just do whatever the fuck you want and fuck off if you don't like that. And like,
Yeah.
I never know what I will get on my timeline from you, and that is like part of the, like, that's so exciting, because one week it's like Bloodborne characters, uh,
The next week he's just a bird with tits, and you're like, okay, that's Coey. Yep,
yeah,
just doing his thing.
but that's what I love, because you're not predictable. The only thing that is predictable is how, again, how confidently you deliver your work.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm glad there's consistency in my lack of consistency.
I mean, I guess that is the consistency, though.
Hmm.
Like, you can always rely on being inspired by something new, like the flavor of the week kind of thing.
Yeah, just my raw, chaotic, unmedicated brain putting things out there.
So you of course already briefly mentioned Monsters and More, but I would
Yeah,
love if you talked a little bit more about it in regarding to the question if you have any passion projects relevant to being queer.
yeah. Well, again, oh god, the first Monsters and More. There's 4 out now, but like, it just started as me and my friend were like just trying to encourage each other to do whatever we wanted, and so we started a little side blog, um, which is what I had on Tumblr, my not safe for work one, and then I just had enough stuff that I was like, well, I not to try to monetize my hobby, but it's something I accidentally do all the time. But
Mm-hmm.
like, what about if I, just did a little Kickstarter for someone who just wanted a compilation of all the, the weird garbo I've drawn, and it did well, and I was like, oh, okay, cool, cool, cool. There's still more weird people out there, and then like a year and a half later, I put out another one, and it just seems like every year or 2 years, I'll just put out a little compilation of all the weird monster fuckery I do. People are down for the ride. So like, yeah, like I said, like it's all kinds of pairings, like gay, straight, lesbian, trans, other, like, and then weird monsters, because why not?
Mm-hmm.
As long as the thing is sentient, I can ship it. Like, yeah, it has illustrations. They like all the books have like illustrations, sketches, some comics, it's all the weird stuff that I do. People are into it.
Yeah, I will never forget when you launched the first Kickstarter of Monsters and
Hmm.
More. I was at the time I was stationed in like a practice round in this big corporate business kind of thing, a
Yeah.
seafaring business, and
Uh-huh.
I was stationed there to potentially become their animator for like they had like educational tools that were online, and they needed animation stuff for that to make it more pleasant and accessible for people, like more fun to learn kind of thing, like making the
Yeah.
modules look more inviting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember sitting there in this incredibly sterile environment, and I'm there with my still my best friend, and we used to live together at the time, and we graduated animation school together, so we were both stationed there in practice.
Yeah. Hmm.
And you launched a Kickstarter. I was like, look! Oh my God, Coey, look at what he just launched! Oh my God, I've been so pumped for this, because you had teased it for a while, and my
Yeah.
body was so fucking ready, and I ordered it sitting in that incredibly anal, boring as shit workplace that I eventually
Oh.
ended up not getting hired to, because of course they hired a man instead, because you know how the industry is.
Uh-huh. Yep. Yep.
But
Yep.
thank God, because I would have been miserable there. So my big takeaway from that work was that I pledged to your Kickstarter there, and that like it opened my eyes, because this probably sounds like bizarre, because I was in my mid-20s at the time. I'm now closer to my mid-30s, and
Hmm.
I am from Norway, which is a very very tiny country in terms of population, and we are incredibly narrow-minded and very like
Hmm.
safe and square.
Yeah. Yeah.
So me being introduced to a lot of stuff was still quite tame in my mid 20s, and seeing your book, like,
My unhinged nonsense.
no, no, not at all. Like, you're of course welcome to refer to it as that. But for me, it was an eye opener, because like you say that representation is so important to you, and it is
Yeah.
very organic. Like, it's not forced. It's not like forced wokeness. It is because you genuinely believe in it and have passion for it, and that comes through.
Oh yeah, like there's not boxes that I'm trying to tick as far as like, oh, this book needs X amount of this or that or that. Like it just it happens, like you said, organically, of just like, okay, well, this is too boring if this is all white people. Like, why the
Yeah.
fuck would I want that? Like, okay, we need different races, dynamics, sizes, genders, etc. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you need diversity, or else why make spicy art? Like,
Yeah, 100%. And that's like the point I'm trying to arrive at, is that seeing that through your work, instead of my brain going like, oh, wooga hot art, it was like, wow, there's so many different people out there, and you saying that you want other people to feel found and seen by your work, and I felt very
yeah,
found and seen, not necessarily because it's just like it's a bunch of monster fucking, because I'm not like, I'm not shy about saying I'm a monster fucker, like no struggle for me admitting that. It was more in terms of just seeing the sheer diversity that like blew me away, because it is so unusual, and even more unusual for where I'm from.
yeah, that's fair. I don't know. I also love at conventions. Sorry to keep referencing this, but it's like
No.
a touchstone for seeing people react to it publicly versus online.
Mm-hmm.
But so at a lot of cons, I'll have like the books to like buy or people flip through, and it's always funny to me when like a group of dude bros comes up, and I'm always like, oh god, I'm gonna roll my eyes because they're about to say some dumb shit. But then like every fucking time, like they'll end up looking through the books, and then ultimately, like throughout the weekend of the convention, like one or two people from their group will come back and like buy the book, like not with their group because I don't know if they don't want the group to know or what, but they always like just sheepishly come by and they buy the book, and I'm like, I got you, I got another one, like.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that.
Or like they'll laugh at a page, but then turn another one. Like, oh no, I'm into this. Like, oh no, I'm in too deep. And I'm like, I gotcha.
Oh, that's so good.
I
Like
just
they're
love.
they're on the first bit, like, what the fuck is this? And they turn like, oh no, this is hot. Fuck.
Yeah. I'm like, I've indoctrinated another one. Another monster fucker is born. Like,
Welcome to
there
my
will be
church of
something. Like,
monster fuckery.
yeah, yeah. Like, there will be something in one of my books that you'll be like, okay, this is weird, but also this one, that's a very much me. Like, I think that's what I strive for, of just like this weird chaotic balance of something above you, something below you, and something like right in that sweet spot of this is my thing, this is my jam. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what I hope for.
Yeah, and I would say you definitely hit that, because like I said, I like, people probably think I'm way more horny than I am, because I'm very vocal about like what I aesthetically enjoy, but that's just like an online
Mhm.
persona of being like big dumb big horny. Like in real life I'm a pretty relaxed person. I'm not walking around like, oh my god, to everything. Like I have, I know how to
Oh no, same. Like
be
yeah,
a
like for
decent
how much
person.
fucking smut I draw, like I'm not very horny, but like I just love the shape of bodies.
Yeah,
And like that's what a
exactly.
lot of it comes down to, of just like, oh, I've drawn this really nice figure, but I don't want to cover it with clothes. So I guess there's enough
Oh
body.
my god, that's
Like just
so
like
such a mood. But
like
the the point I'm trying to get is that my best friend that I mentioned that was at the workspace
yeah.
together with me.
Mhm.
They're quite the opposite of me. Like very. I don't want to use the word prude, but they are just very not a sexual being whatsoever,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah,
are
fair.
also very much into your work. Like they're like, oh, I love it, but and it's not like I look at your work and I'm just like, oh my god, I need 5 minutes in the bathroom, because it's not that. I love your work because I think it's beautiful to look at. But my friend has the exact same, and we're so different on like the whole like sexual aspect of it. So you
Yeah.
definitely have like a broad audience, even if it is like highly sexualized work.
Yeah. I think a lot of it comes down to, again, the like, well, I drew this nice body and I don't want to cover it. Like I enjoy seeing how like just like the push and pull of flesh, and not just like in a sexy way, but just like I love how tangible something 2D can be, like how
Mm-hmm.
tangible something can feel, and I really enjoy that. So
Oh, and that is
unfortunately, that drove me to make Monster Smut, but like I don't care. That's fine.
I will
I'm along for the ride.
I,
Yeah,
I
I put
wouldn't say
myself in this car.
unfortunately. I would say thank God because I love it. But
Thank you.
that is something that I always think about when I think about your work is just how like I'm struggling finding the correct word. It's so tangible, like you said, because
Yeah,
I feel like I can reach out, and even though your work is heavily stylized, because I would not call it realistic, but it
no,
looks real regardless because you have so much understanding of volume and mass, and that is probably one of the biggest things that has inspired me. Because I have a very flat style, but I want it to be flat but with volume, which is a very
yeah,
challenging thing to do. And you have at times
boy howdy, ain't it? Yeah.
but you have like I don't even know how to describe your style because it's definitely more painterly than mine because you use brush strokes, but I would
Hmm.
say it's still heavily in line art territory.
Yeah, yeah.
And you just crack the code, man, and I just wish I could pick your brain apart for that without like replicating what you do. I want that knowledge of mass that you have.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, no, like I mean, I have that with my own art of just like, how did I do that? Like, I feel like my stuff changes so much from piece to piece. I'm glad that other people see consistency because it's so hard for me too. But um yeah, no, I feel like I do something new every week. So I'm glad there is some sort of through line between it all.
Oh, it
I,
definitely
I
is. But I think part of that comes down to the fact that we as artists, especially like when you're a digital artist like we are, you tend to
mhm.
be up close and personal a lot with your art. And if you're like doing the cardinal sins that I do, that zoom into like 400% and work on like the nitty gritty, you kind of
Yeah,
lose
yeah.
the overall sense of your work from time to time. And I think without necessarily doing it actively, we still apply our overall thing to every piece. So even though you feel like every piece is so different, and it is like it's not like you draw the same thing every time you post something, but I can always tell it's yours regardless.
Well, nice. Thank you, thank you. Um, you talked about working in a corporate office. How many like quote unquote normal jobs have you had?
Three very short-lived ones. First was
Okay.
at a kiosk. Then I worked at a place where I was in the office part of it, but it was like a manufacturer of sorts, like they manufacture steel parts.
Yeah.
And then the last one was this boat company thingamajig. Oh no, actually
Yeah.
four,
Okay.
because I also repaired iPads for a while.
I know. I always enjoy hearing uh like people's passion projects slash art versus what they had to do for a while, like out in the real world
Oh
before like
yeah.
either they had to find that balance of normal work and their personal work, or their like how their personal work eventually took over and they're able
Mm-hmm.
to sustain that. Because I definitely did like office work for a while before like doing this full time.
Did you
So it's
enjoy the contrast between your art life and your working life?
I definitely had a better work life balance then,
Mm.
ish. I went to college for illustration with a minor in printmaking, and then I ended up just leaving because I got a job uh, as a graphic designer. I've always been like a jack of all trades. So then I worked as a graphic designer for um, I think 2 years at that place, and then I did a 4 year stint doing editorial photo editing
Mm-hmm.
for Victoria's Secret and La Senza and like the oh god, was it the limited brands? I guess that's what it is. Like Bath and Body Works, all those are under the same company, and
Mm-hmm.
I would do photo editing for that and like stuff like that. Like I've always strived to find ways to use my normal human job in my other work. So like a lot of it has like graphic design helped me do a lot of like figure out stuff for like when I made books. Like, oh, I
Yeah.
understand the printing process now. And then like with the editorial photo editing job, like it just helped me expand my like knowledge of Photoshop and other stuff. And then like from there, I went to a product design place, and that helped me like learn the ins and outs of like back end industry stuff of like how to format files and like do all that. Like it's all like, to harken back to my gender bullshit, just like the like little things that help build me to who I am today. Like
Mm-hmm.
the little like taking stuff from all my jobs and putting it into what I do now. But yeah, I did that for like 6 years before I was like, oh, I can make a living off of art. But I'm always curious, like what people did before they found themselves here as well. So
Yeah, I more often than not, I get the sense that we've had a lot of like incredibly normie slash boring jobs that was like completely unrelated to our artistic career.
yep.
But it is interesting that you mentioned being like a graphic designer, because that is something that I've thought about a lot when just like looking through your books, like your Kickstarted Monsters and More books and your short comics and stuff like that. That you have a very you have a good eye for layout, and I've always been staring at like, man, where do people like obtain this kind of knowledge when they want to? Because I hope to one day put together a book myself. And I would just sit there and
Hmm.
just like throw shit at the wall and be like, I hope this works because I have no fucking clue what I'm doing because I'm not a graphic designer by far. But now that
Yeah.
you're saying that that's like part of your background, it makes so much sense because I was like, man, how did they do it?
Yeah. I again just jack of all trades, like uh all these, yeah, just little things I picked up along the way. Like I don't know.
But in the
But
end, it
happy
really
now.
is. Yeah, in the end, it served you well.
Yeah.
Alrighty, we have arrived at the final question.
Oh no.
Do you want to keep going?
It's up to you. I don't care. I just feel like I'm rambling because I always get nervous on calls. Hi, everyone listening to this later. I'm terribly nervous.
Well,
Can you tell?
you're doing
Um,
wonderful, and you're giving a lot of super fun, insightful answers. So I think you're doing
yeah.
great.
Okay. Well, great. Because I feel like this is an LGBT plus questionnaire, and I've just been rambling about art and social media. But cool.
Well, the thing is, being queer is all of you. And art is such a big part of an artist's identity more often than not. So it would
Hmm.
be impossible to separate the two. Like they're a complete topic, which is also why it's so fun for me to have artists on here, because it's so fun and interesting to hear just how different our paths are, how they've been, how they are now, and um like how being queer also affects us as being artists. So yeah, you
Yeah.
sitting talking about
Fair.
like your art career is perfect because i'm I'm not doing this to be like, why are you gay? It's more like, who are you as a gay person?
Yeah. Fair. 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 Okay.
Okay, so the final question: if you could go back
Yeah.
in time and speak with your 13-year-old self, what would you say?
Oh. Uh, I guess if I could transition sooner, I feel like that would have helped me out in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't transition from female to male until after college. And a large part of that was, like I said before, the self sufficient thing. Like, I didn't have the money or the time to do that earlier
Mm-hmm.
on in life. I didn't know that was an option in a lot of ways until later in life that, like, oh, shit, people do have and could do that. Like, not because of, you know, it wasn't available necessarily, but like it wasn't as prevalent. Like
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know until later. I didn't see stuff like the work I do now out there uh, as pervasively back then. So like
Yeah.
if I could have transitioned earlier, that would have been cool. But like also like it is what it is, and I am the way I am because I wasn't able to like do that earlier on in life. So like, a
Mm.
lot of do about it, sure. But like that would have been cool if I could have done that sooner. But
Yeah,
yeah,
the landscape has shifted so much, like just the last 10 years, of how accessible that kind of information is. So it is wild today to look back upon just how obscure it all felt at one point.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And yeah. Just I wish I could have transitioned sooner, and hmm, I don't know, because like again, a place of privilege, but I just had a lot of supportive people in my life that were always just they're along for the ride or they weren't. So like it's not like I had a terrible queer relationships as like growing up. Like again, I dated men and women, and they were both supportive. But then again, all my sexuality is like, oh, we're friends first, and then I have a crush on you. So that's
Mm-hmm.
probably a huge like determining factor in who I chose to be close to. But like, I don't know. What about yourself?
What about me? What I would say to my 13-year-old self?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
holy shit, throwing the questions right back at me.
Hey, back at you. Fuck you.
Oh boy. I think I would have gone back and be like, girl, it's okay to not be a typical woman. You're not
Mm,
trans, you're just not a stereotype.
yeah,
Um, you
totally fair.
you're a lesbian, and I wish you figured that out before you hit your 30s, so you could have ditched a lot of unsavory types in your late teens and 20s in your desperate attempt to try to find true love.
Oh,
Um,
big fucking mood.
and what else? Get a bunch of tattoos while you're studying, because that's when you have money to waste money on that shit, because now you're old and
Oh
you
my
have
god.
bills.
That too. Yeah, uh-huh. That. Big that. Point, point, point. That. Please that. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's what I would go back. Like, just go back and reassure myself that that thing you're feeling, it's not that you're trans, because I've been very public about it, that I went through gender therapy because I thought I was trans.
Hmm. Oh
But
yeah.
I was just completely brainwashed and conditioned by how society view women, which
Yes.
fed me a lot of internalized misogyny and made me hate who I truly was, because I
Yeah. Unfortunately, very relatable. Like, yeah.
yeah, I thought if I, and this is not me shitting on this type of woman, but if I wasn't some blonde big booby babe, then I couldn't possibly identify as a woman, because there was no one like me out there. And just like you are very passionate about um, diversity, I'm passionate
Mm.
about diverse women in my art, because I want to
Yeah.
show that women can be so much more than uh, poor Princess Peach. She gets a lot of shit on this podcast, but they're not all Princess Peach.
Yeah.
There,
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
there's a lot of big, broad-shouldered gals out there, and also that, just like yourself, I'm also not too keen on labels within being a lesbian, because that's also a
Yeah.
thing that made it very difficult for me to identify, because I wasn't a butch and I wasn't a lipstick lesbian, and
Yes.
then I guess I wasn't a lesbian, you know?
Yeah. 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 No. Like, no. I'm glad you don't label, because that it just puts unrealistic expectations on you when you're already catching that from every angle in your
Mm,
life. Like, yeah. No. That's the best thing you can do. Of just like go with the flow and do what feels right, and there will be other people with you, is ultimately the takeaway. But
yeah. I just want to vibe and make art, man.
yeah, yeah, pretty much.
Well,
Oh,
this has been an absolute delight.
yeah, thanks for having me. You've been a pleasure and a treat.
Thank you, and likewise, I hope I haven't scared you half to death.
No, I will never listen to this again, but
Oh, that's super fair. I don't force anyone to listen back.
uh but sorry everyone for listening.
Don't
Sorry, thank you.
apologize. They are
I'm gonna
privileged
do
for
it.
having you here and listening to you talk for an hour. That's not something to apologize. You should say you're welcome.
You're welcome.
Good. What do we say?
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for having me. You are
Thank
a delight.
thank you, and likewise, thank you for being here. Do you have any last things you want to push in before we leave?
uh Not really. I figure you'll link to all my social media stuff, but it's just Coey Kuhn, CoeyKuhn. it's pretty much that everywhere on social media. Like I said, I just post whatever, whenever. Enjoy.
Wonderful. Well, happy Pride.
Yeah, happy Pride to you too.
Thank you. I'll see you on the flip side.
Hey, bye-bye.
Bye. All right, everyone. Take care of yourself. Love yourself. Love one another. I'll see you guys around. Bye.